Okay, it's Sunday, so it's time to play some fighting games and answer some questions. What happened, you might ask? Well, there's no good answer, really. Basically, some personal shit happened, which was largely just me being an asshole, but whatever, it's irrelevant. We'll try and get back to it again. Now, I'm having a lot of anxiety right now because one of my monitors stopped working. So I can't actually see if the recording is still working right now, and that's giving me... I don't like it very much. We're just gonna have to trust it's all working. I've also had to write everything down, which is absolutely disgusting. First off, favorite reptile. I do not like reptiles. They give me the heebie-jeebies. Next, have you ever gotten into crafting in an MMO? Can you think of a fun system for it? Always seemed so boring to me. No, I haven't really. Granted, the only MMO I've ever really played, like, extensively is 14, Final Fantasy 14. And to be honest, that's probably got the best system you can have, at least that I can think of, which is that the crafters have their own, like, rotation of abilities as well. I can't really think of a better way to do it, unless you want to have, like, a bunch of, like, really tiny mini-games scattered in there, which would probably be the ideal, but would be a lot of work, right? You know, if every type of crafter you could be had their own kind of, like... I'm thinking, like, Cooking Mama kind of thing, you know? If you got the chef, you're doing all the little, like, cooking mini-game. If you're, or, like, all those various little miscellaneous puzzles that were in, like, the Professor Layton games. If you could make something that kind of, like, those tiny little things that fit for each of the crafters, that would probably be the ideal, but, like, that would be a huge amount of work, and, like, probably not worth it, because I can't imagine a huge amount of an MMO's install base actually does crafting. So the best you can probably do is just have, like, a different, like, a crafting rotation like the battle jobs would have as well. That's probably the easiest, best way to do it. I can't really think of anything else that wouldn't be, like, a huge amount of work. Which is basically just the mini-games. Yeah. To me, honestly, also, like, if you really want to get people into crafting, just make it easier to level a crafter. Like, leveling a crafter is always mad fucking tedious in, like, any MMO. It's always, like, if you're not already rich, it's probably gonna take you forever, or you're gonna have to just do a ton of tedious fucking busy work shit. Like, if the leveling process was more expedited, maybe more individually skill taxing, but, like, way faster, that would be nice. I would like that. I don't know where to look now either, because I'm usually, like, looking at the other screen a lot. Now I don't know where to look. I'm just, like, looking at my fucking notepad instead, which is not really ideal. It's terrible. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else. Crafting's, man, it's just so fucking tedious to level the crafters. I hate it. That's about the best I got. It's, despite having tried to get into it in 14 like 7 different times, because I would like to have some fucking money in that game. The time investment to get to high level, and then also having to gear the crafter as well to actually be able to get anything done. It's just, it's too much. I don't want to do it. Next, are there different rules of engagement for different ranks? I watch reviews and such, but none of it seems to work in lower ranks. Does playing a team game but not playing as a team then equate to which team just happens to have the best player individually? There is a certain extent of that. That's why I talk a lot about just trying to play as consistently as well as possible, because to a certain extent with any kind of team game, if you're trying to rank up, there's always an amount of variance that you can't really get rid of, because there's you know, multiple other people on your team that you have absolutely no control over. The only thing you can control is yourself. So there's an amount of variance in there where just, like, especially with a game like Overwatch, it's very easy for one person to throw an entire game. You need to just sort of play consistently well so that over time you just gradually will climb, just through statistics, because if you can play consistently well yourself, that means there's one person on your team that won't make a mistake, which the other team does not have a guarantee of, right? Because if you're playing consistently well, with Overwatch you only have 5 people on your team that can be making mistakes. You'll not play perfectly, but you get the idea. There's only 5 people on your team that can play badly or throw or disconnect or something, but the other team has 6 people that can do that instead. So this is why just playing well consistently is the most important thing, because there is, every team game, there's just an amount of variance like that you can't really do anything about. It's just the nature of the thing. There are different rules of engagement for different ranks. It basically comes down to there are less rules the lower you go. Everything gets more freestyle the lower rank you go. This is something I've complained about before with, like, most content. This isn't just an Overwatch problem. This is a problem with, like, every single type of competitive game in existence, where most videos you'll find online about that game are geared towards, or they're not geared towards, but they're made from the perspective of somebody that is already higher rank, right? So I find that most content doesn't land very well with the majority of the people that will actually be watching it, because the things that those people talk about only really apply to high ranks or, like, middle high ranks. Everything gets wilder the lower you get, but people never really talk about the lower ranks. And that's not just, that is an Overwatch problem, but this is a problem with just competitive games, like, content in general. Even ones that aren't team-based. Like, if I try and tell you how to play, like, Guilty Gear Strive, right? Like, half of what I tell you will probably not actually mean anything to you, because I'm already the highest rank in the game I can be. Well, I'm not, like, number 1 on the leaderboard, but, you know, I'm in the highest tier that you can be. If you're down in, like, floor 2, the other person is just gonna be going fucking wild as shit. So, like, if I try and talk to you about, like, playing footsies, that's not gonna work, because the other guy isn't playing footsies, he's YOLOing across the screen at you. So, this is just a problem with, like, online content, is that there's always a disjoint between the person making the content and the people consuming the content. This is why I try and focus more on lower ranks, or speaking from the perspective of lower ranks, because they're the people that will be watching it the most. And, like, if I try and talk purely from the perspective of, like, a Masters player or a Diamond player, like 90% of people that watch the videos, it won't fucking matter what the fuck I said, because none of it's actually going to apply to the games you're playing. So this is why consistency is important. This is getting very rambling. For lower ranks, the big thing is, it kind of depends what role you're playing as to what the best strategy is, individually, because if you play support, then the best thing you can really do is find the best player on your team and invest as many resources into that person as you can. Rather than worrying about everybody, you pile as much onto the good player as possible. Whereas if you're playing tank and DPS as well, I think it's more about shutting down the best player on the enemy team, or really focusing on the weakest member of their team instead, because it's very easy for one person to solo throw, especially if they're playing tank or support. So if somebody's playing really well on the enemy team, you feel like they're a problem, like, one of the better things to do in lower ranks is just try and bully that person. Just, like, focus on them, try and shut them down as much as you can. Because if their best player is playing terribly suddenly, it makes it easier for your team to get going. Or you take the opposite approach of, well, I think that just this guy on there, it doesn't even really matter who it is. Ideally, it's a tank or a support, but you could think one of the enemy DPS is bad, and it's the same deal, really. If you can find somebody on the enemy team that's just, like, always out of position, doesn't really seem like they know what they're doing, you just don't think they're that good for whatever reason, if you just bully that person as hard as you can make the enemy team always be playing 5v6, which is really hard to do. So even though you haven't really removed, like, a great player from the enemy team by just picking on this bad player, the sheer numbers advantage that you inflict on them can help enough by itself. And then the higher you get, the rules get more focused around team play, because you can sort of expect people to react in a disciplined way, is probably the best way to put it. Because that's really the hardest thing, like talking about lower ranks, is everything is just way more unpredictable than it is at the higher ranks, because people are just doing whatever the fuck, really. So you kind of have to freestyle it to a certain extent, but then as you get higher and higher, people start playing in a more consistent way that you can kind of, you can play around, you can make plays expecting a certain type of reaction, which you can't in lower ranks. So it's more just about, like, bullying somebody or, like, funneling resources onto your best player, in the lower ranks. It's, you know, this is why, as well, it's not a particularly uncommon story for a high-level player, or a high-ranked player, like Diamond Masters, I've heard of this for, like, GM players even, or top 500s, is they'll start playing on a Smurf, and they can't get out of gold. Even though they obviously are good at the game, because they got to this very high rank, but they aren't able to acclimatize to the way that they need to play in lower ranks, because they make plays like expecting their team to react in a certain way, or expecting the enemy team to respond in a certain way, but that just doesn't happen. So they end up getting stuck in lower ranks, even though they individually are good players, because they're not able to adapt to the way you need to play in lower ranks compared to higher ranks. It's its own kind of, like, distinct skill set. Yeah, there you go. So yes, there are different rules of engagement. I was very rambling. And this is the last question, though we're a little bit early, but, you know, we'll fill time. What for you makes a fighting game enjoyable? Oftentimes when talking with friends who play, they will quote a game's unique mechanics, aesthetics, or polished gameplay, and I'm interested in what you most enjoy. So, the mechanics are obviously important. Like, I'm not going to play some terrible fighting game. Like, if you look up Street Fighter 1, that's a bad game, dog. That's just like an objectively bad video game. So I'm not going to play that. The mechanics are obviously important. Aesthetic doesn't honestly bother me that much in a fighting game. What I really need is I need the mechanics to be good. You know, the controls to be tight, basically. And all I really need other than that, though, is, like, one character that I really like to play, or that I am really drawn to aesthetically. Like in Strive, I'm playing Ramlethal, because I just really like Ramlethal's design. I don't, like, her gameplay is fine. I don't dislike it or anything, but I like her more on an aesthetic level than I do on the gameplay level, but I do really like her aesthetically. She's hot, is basically what I'm saying. So that makes me stick with the game if there's a character I really like for one reason or another. When I started playing Dragon Ball FighterZ, which was the one that got me into fighting games, that was all character-driven, basically. Like, I liked the mechanics, sure. It was helpful that they were quite new player-friendly as well. But I am a fan of Dragon Ball Z, Super, the original Dragon Ball. I like them all. So on a purely character level, I was just drawn to it because I like this series. And then Android 21 was, of course, my favorite because she's hot. You know, I'm much like Yoko Taro. I just like girls, okay? So and then I really liked Android 21's gameplay as well when I actually, like, bothered to play her, because she was kind of hard for me starting out. Yeah, so, like, that's the most important thing. There's got to be a character I really like. This is why I kind of stopped playing Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, because we had a few videos about that with that one, but I eventually just fell off of it because the gameplay and aesthetics were all fine, but there was no one character that I really liked, you know? Like, none of them were hugely appealing to me. Like, I kind of liked Luane on kind of an aesthetic level, but I didn't like playing as him. So that was a problem. Even though I liked the one aspect, I disliked the other aspect enough that I didn't stick with it from him. I liked Matera as a character, but I did not like playing as her. And then I did like Soares gameplay-wise and character design-wise, but not enough. Like, he didn't jive with me all that well. I think if I had stuck with it more and played Belial, I would have probably ended up enjoying the game more, because he seems more my kind of style gameplay-wise. I don't like him as a character, but his gameplay looks like something I'd be really into, which is enough if I really like playing as them. But that's why I bounced off of that in the end, was none of the characters really stuck with me, you know? Also, the net play was very bad. The netcode was terrible in that game. But for me, yeah, it's, like, really characters for me. There's got to be a character that I like Ramlethal or Android 21. I also liked the fusions in fighters. I liked Vegito and I liked Gogeta a lot. I like Piccolo. Piccolo is my favorite Dragon Ball character. It's a shame that the power creep kind of shuffled him out after a while, isn't it? Fucking Roshi had more going on recently than Piccolo did. It's a disgrace. Anyway, so, you know, all the aesthetic and all that, it helps, but it's really got to be like the character, and the gameplay itself's got to be good, because it doesn't matter how much I like a character on an aesthetic level. If the game plays like Street Fighter 1 or Street Fighter 2, we're out of there. I don't like it. It's not for me. The individual, like, type of gameplay the game has doesn't even really bother me that much. Like, all the fighting games I have played have been very different to each other in terms of overall gameplay. Fighters was a tag game, so it was fucking wild, crazy anime bullshit constantly. I did quite enjoy playing Street Fighter, and that's an extremely slow game. All footsies and neutral. And then Strive is somewhere in between those 2 points, you know, sort of the middle ground of the three. I want to play Melty Blood, which is coming out soon. That game looks pretty cool, and that's somewhere more on the fighters spectrum of being pretty wild and crazy. I don't know if I'll end up sticking with that one, though, because, look, the Melty Blood characters look fucking boring, alright? They're all basic bitches, so the gameplay of the character is gonna have to really get me for that one, but I am interested in playing it. Maybe King of Fighters as well, the new King of Fire, kind of interested in that one. And we're, of course, all waiting for Riot's fighting game to come out one of these days. You know, eventually they have to show us the fucking game. I like League of Legends. I'm down to play a fighting game of League of Legends, but you gotta show me something sooner or later. So that was the last question. I think I can't even see how long we've been going. I think we've been going for about 20 minutes, so we're gonna fill some time now by talking about the games we're playing. So, I'm playing Ramlethal, he's playing Kai. We're playing two characters that have overall similar goals, which is, well, that's not true. Ramlethal is trying to get you into the corner. Kai would like you to be in the corner, but I wouldn't describe it as being integral for him. But we're both got, like, generally good buttons, and we're trying to just sort of slap you with them, basically. And I'm trying to work you into the corner so I can pressure you by throwing the swords into the corner. Kai, however, you know, he's just got generally good buttons. Kai's more kind of a character that's revolved around, like, not letting the other character do what they want to do, rather than him strictly having his own personal goal. Kai's kind of weird. Most people would describe him as being very honest. You know, there's nothing particularly disgusting about him or unfair that he has going on. Whereas, like, the high-tier players, or characters, sorry, all have something about them that's, like, unfair and unbalanced. Like, Ramlethal's corner pressure is very unfair, but you gotta get him to the corner, that's the thing. Kai doesn't really have anything that's, like, super unfair. He's just, like, generally fine. I just kicked the table, sorry, you probably heard that. So yeah, so he's just trying to slap me, and I'm trying to get in and slap him and work him towards the corner. As you can see, that's going very badly right now. But that's okay, I've only got to hit him a couple times, and you can get him. Yeah, it only takes a couple mistakes. Alright, it's not looking good. Alright, YRC, slow him down, and just get kicked in the leg, you know. So that's a bad start to the set. Hey, what can you do? You know, this is me. I lose the first game in a set very frequently because people play real differently. You know, there's even though all characters have like one thing that they're really trying to do, everybody plays the character just a little bit differently. Especially someone like Kai, where they don't have like one really strong thing they're trying to work towards. So I threw my swords to try and get him in the corner, but he got out of the corner, so I had to go into the corner to retrieve my swords. So he's doing the slide a lot, and I wasn't sure in the game what my best method of punishing the slide was, so he kind of got away with it a lot. Which is something I should endeavor to figure out more about, but like, I hate doing shit in training mode, alright? It makes me depressed trying to do stuff in training mode rather than just playing the game. You know, I like to just get out there. The slide is unsafe on block, so I ended up deciding that my best thing to do would just be try and bait him into doing it, and then just try and punish him afterwards, but I also wasn't even sure what the best punish to go for would be. And there I just went low like 9 times in a row, and he just didn't want to block low, so, you know, that was convenient. That's not the way to do it. The right way to do it I know what it would be now, thinking about it, but it wouldn't mean anything really to tell you what it would be. It would be to use kick and then my advancing move. Which also just got buffed because we had a balance patch, which is incredible. They buffed everybody. They like didn't nerf anybody. Even the characters that you know, there's some nerfs should have occurred. They didn't do it. Ramlethal didn't really get changed very much, unfortunately. So very bravely, I just ran all the way up to him because he jumped in the air, which he had. Kai's got limited things he can really do in the air. So I decided my best method there would be just sprint straight up to him and try to get him as he's landing. He's trying to do the dust a lot as well, the orange charge move that you keep seeing. It's called the dust attack, and that's an overhead. It's universal, everybody has one. He's going for it a lot. I played against this guy a lot, Jesus Christ. And we're not gonna watch all of them. We're just gonna see how well the first 3 games went. That's, you know, first to 3. That's what it's all about. So here we go. Jump at him, block him. Didn't go so well. Jump again. Staggering the buttons, trying to see if he's just gonna push something in there. Block the burst. People love to burst immediately, especially when you get them in the corner as Ramblefall. They don't want to be there. They try and get out. So I thought he'd jump, which is why I threw the sword over him. He did not jump. Then I just threw the other sword at him on the ground to try and push him closer to the corner. Got him in the corner, dropped my combo, but he gave it to me anyway, so that's great. What do I do this time? Just back up, play it safe, and he's going to jump at me. I'm also just terrible at anti-airing. That's unsafe on block, so I can just hit him with the 2 slaps. He was not allowed to do that right there. Now we're going to put him in the corner. Going to break the corner, get the positive bonus. Now what are we going to do now? He's going to sit there, throw the sword, try and keep him in the corner. He's going to jump over it, but I get him with the anti-air, and now we're going to put him back in the corner. He's probably dead. Yeah, he's dead. Easy peasy. I like playing against Kai, even though, you know, some Kai players are really annoying. Because he's just kind of a rounded character, so I feel like you can have a more generally well-rounded game against him. Whereas someone like Eno, you're trying to shut down specific things Eno's trying to do. I always go low at the start versus an Eno because they love to use the slide, that slide right there. So I always, like, if I don't know what the Eno's going to do, I always just default to attack low instead, right at round start. Drop that combo. He actually could have just kept blocking, but he panicked and bursted to get me off of him, which he did not need to do. Because I had already I wasn't ready to confirm I hit him, so I actually ended up dropping it, and he could have just blocked it. But we got him all the way. We took a big chunk of health from him there. Alright, throw the sword. I was hoping to just get him when he jumped. And then throw the sword over him, dash forward and attack low, anticipating the slide, which is what he went for. Now, push him over to the corner. I should have thrown the sword to try and keep him in the corner. That's unsafe, so I just mash it. Well, it's safe, but he's mine. He can't like continue. I can mash through it. Tried to use the note, didn't work. Got him in the corner. Should have used the super really, so I could get the hard knockdown over here, but it's fine. He do be 6P-ing a lot right there. You can run under that, but I think I stopped to push a button, and I got hit for it. Delayed the fall down, YRC. Alright, now, alright, we're going in the blender. He's going to throw me. And was he going to throw me again? I threw him. Haha, block it? Yeah. There's no way he's not going to burst right there. He's like... That's the worst when you're like basically dead and you have your burst. Because it's like you have to burst because you're going to die. But at the same time, the other guy knows you're going to burst because you die if you don't burst. So like... Really, all you can actually do is, like, not burst and hope he tries to bait your burst so hard he ends up dropping the combo instead. But that's, you know, that's kind of scary. So, throw the sword, just try and catch him jumping. I wait there to see what they do, because there's a few different things you can try and do to get out of the corner when Ram throws a sword at you. If I don't know what the person's going to do yet, just kind of look at them. Alright, he threw me in the corner, which is a standard defensive measure. I don't like it, just burst him off me. With that, that's plus on block, so I have to keep blocking. That wasn't, but he RC'd to keep it safe, or to keep his pressure going. I YRC'd to try and push him off, but he was in the air and blocked, so it didn't really work out too well. He just went overhead like 4 times. Sometimes when you're playing against Eno, you just gotta mash, because if they repeatedly go overhead, there's a gap in there, so you can just mash your way out of it with jab, but, you know. So if they don't do it, then you feel bad, because you try and jab your way out of it, and it just don't work. So he got the gold burst, because I messed up my timing, which now means he's got full meter, so that's very scary. Mash my way out of this one. I don't know what was going on there. He's gonna YRC to push me off of him. He doesn't want to go to the corner. I understand. That's understandable. Low again. No, he's going to do the super. That's a command grab. You have to basically read that they're going to do that, because you don't have enough time to... Because if it's a command grab, you have to jump out of it, basically. You can backdash command grab as well, but depending on the command grab, it's either hard or impossible. You need to know the Eno's going to do that and jump, pretty much. You can't wait for the, like, flash that she's using a super and then jump. There's not enough time. You just need to read that it's coming. Which, you know, life is hard. This is playing against Eno for you. She's a very mix-up heavy character, so you just kind of have to deal with it. It's just how it is. I don't mind playing against Eno as Ram, though. I think Ram has a pretty good matchup against Eno. Which is, I think, true for all of the Rushdown characters, really, though I still hate playing against Chip, even though I think Ram probably has a good matchup against him. Chip tilts me a lot. So I probably didn't need to burst there, but I'd take the mindset of what don't take the risk, right? Like, I had a lot of health to play with, but I'd rather burst too early and save all my health than hold the burst thinking I can get out of it without bursting, and then by the time I do burst, I've lost like 50% of my life. Like, I don't want to even take the risk. Especially if I'm playing a character like Ramiflaw, where you can just play pretty slow and, like, safely while your burst is down, and it's fine. You know, you don't have to rush it. I keep messing up the timing. He could just, like, throw me into the corner, but he's not, like... He's respecting my ability too much. So throw the sword, get him in the corner. Unfortunately, we end up switching places. Blue RC, jump over him, and because he's slowed down from the RC, we got enough time to slap him in the corner, because he tried to just push a button to keep me in there. Played against the Eno a lot, so we'll go to this Milia set, and then we'll move on. Milia is one of the other Rushdown characters. She's a very aerial-focused character. She's got the most air movement in the game by far. So a lot of it is about just anti-airing the Milia and, like, not letting her get away with too much crazy shit. This is a big part of her gameplay. She knocks you down and then sets the spinning top, and then she has like a bunch of different things she can do, and you just have to block correctly, you know. So you don't want to get knocked down versus Milia. Backdash the throw, so I get to punish her. Switch sides, push her into the corner now. Should have thrown the sword really, but that's fine. So, oops, she's getting out of the corner. Uh-oh, got a block. Same side. That's unsafe on block, but she's too far away for me to punish her. Anti-air. Alright, got her in the corner. Throw the sword. I expected her to jump. She didn't jump. Do the 3 hits. Oh, no, I did that too soon. Ah. You have to do the... If you're gonna RC there, you have to get all 3 hits in. Otherwise, the person can, like, just jump out, and it's not really a big deal. Get grabbed. High. Goes low. That's unsafe, but she's got RC, so she can keep going. Try to jump out. Unsafe, but she's too far for me to really get anything going, and I run straight into her button. I could have gotten one more hit in there, but I didn't have enough RC to do anything, so I wouldn't have actually still killed her regardless. Alright, throw the sword over. This is my favorite trick. You throw the sword over the sword over the top of them, and that gets the other person to go, wait, that sword didn't hit me. And they like, try to push a button, but I'm already pushing a button because I knew I threw the sword. It's basically a like, oh, you missed. No. I wasn't trying to hit you to begin with, but like actually, not as a joke or anything. It just gets like a delayed reaction out of people. Try to bait the RC. Didn't bait it, but she did it so high above me that it didn't actually matter anyway. Milia players. Milia is a very squishy character. She has very low life, so people tend to burst, like, immediately. The benefit of playing like Ram versus Milia is that I only really need to touch the Milia, like, a couple of times, and she's basically dead, whereas Milia needs to, like, work me over because I'm a tankier character than she is. Which is nice, and this isn't going to kill, but she's really low. Throw the upper sword? Yeah, unfortunately she jumped way over it. So, a little bit of a stare down, but I ended up blinking first. Throw the sword, there you go, you see? You throw the sword over the top of them and they're like, wait! And they try to run up to you, but you're already pushing another button. That's one of my favorite tricks. Doesn't always work, and sometimes it backfires on you really badly, depending on the person that you're playing against, but it works more often than not. It's one of my favorite tricks. It'll work against, if it works on one person once, it tends to keep working against them as well, which is nice. So, game 2, here we go. Got her in the corner, jump over it. She tried to push a button to get out of it. She tried to run out. You can't run out of the low one. Tried to grab me, but I jumped over the top of it. Drop the combo. Sick. That's classic right there. Ooh, better response, but didn't work all the same. She did. She got a little side step like that. Goes through most attacks. You can hit her with a low attack, but she'll just slide through most standing attacks. It's really hard to contest Milia in the air. Her aerial buttons are pretty good, but it's also really hard to anti-air her, so it's like pick your poison, right? She's been trying to push a button a lot, so I just do my quick kick right there because she rams plus on block after throwing the sword. So if you just kick, you'll keep them in the corner. If they try and push a button, they're going to get hit. And she's been trying to push a button a lot. And I didn't actually want to do the super right there. I was just trying to throw my sword at her, but the input is similar enough that I accidentally super quite frequently. But hey, it killed her, so that's all that matters. It doesn't matter if it was a mistake as long as she's dead. So, last round, here we go. Is Milia going to get the last game? Went for the upper sword out of the game, and now I've thrown both my swords away, which is, like, not generally good practice, but I'm not afraid to, like, throw my swords at somebody to try and push them towards a corner. Like, both times there. If she just doesn't block that, she gets pushed towards the corner enough that I'm in, like, a better position overall. But if they block, I'm in a terrible position. So, you know, that's unsafe on block. I'm close enough to punish this time. Jab, or not jab, but kick, try and keep her there. That was a mistake, but I had enough RC or enough meter to RC and make it safe. RC is Roman cancel, by the way, is what it's short for. You got 4 different types of Roman cancel. Generally, it's for canceling animations, though the blue one is just using Roman cancel without pushing any buttons, and the yellow is while you're blocking to push the person off of you. She was too high for me to hit with the move I tried to use, otherwise it would have actually killed her. And now I'm going to throw my swords at her because I'll kill her with chip. basically. If you don't faultless defense, you take chip damage. So if they're low enough, you just start chucking your swords at them. So there you go. So thank you very much for watching if you did. I'm sorry for the massive gap in content as usual. Hopefully we'll do better, but I've said that before. If you have any questions you'd like to see answered on the show, please submit them via your preferred method, comment, emails, seismic tremors, whichever you prefer. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye!